Welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads, a podcast all about beer from a West Virginia perspective. I'm Erin McCoy, here with my podcast partner, Charles Bockway.
Thanks, Erin. 2025 was a very busy year for craft beer and brewery activity in West Virginia. And we can't wait to discuss the past year and also to look forward to 2026 in our beer world. So today, Erin and I have two guests who will both help fill us in on some of the most important craft beer trends and happenings that we've observed this year and also help us project some trends for the coming year.
That's right. We have two of our favorite craft beer industry observers with us today. Here are Libby Rojas and David Mincer. I guess we should say you both live in the Charleston, West Virginia area, but are definitely well-traveled in the craft beer world. Anyway, guys, welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, folks, let me get started directing this conversation because we've got a lot of ground to cover. First, I want to review with you some of the highlights of our current craft beer year and also pick out some of the main topics that we will delve into in more detail. So, David Mincer, I'm going to start with you. What's a topic you'd like to throw out?
Hey, I want to talk about 2025 being the year of the rise of the tap room for West Virginia. And it seems to me to be the sort of trend on where we're going here, and that brewers are realizing that's where the money is. And there's a heck of a bit of difference between making, $7 or $8 as a price per beer in your own tap room versus selling in a keg, and it's $1.40 if you do that way. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Big difference in the business model.
It sure is. And I agree with you. Yeah, you've seen this in some other states where laws allow breweries to have multiple tap rooms, especially. And in West Virginia, we've seen some people really jump on that multiple tap room thing, haven't we?
Yeah, so you've got other half, right, has now got, I'm going to say, something like 7 or 8 different tap rooms around the country. They started in New York, and now they're in D.C., and they have 2 within 3 miles of each other in my hometown up in Canandaigua, New York.
Oh, no kidding.
It's absolutely wild.
Wow.
And they don't steal business from each other. There's enough to go around to make them happy and make plenty of money everywhere.
Well, this is other half we're talking about.
Yeah, right? And then Voodoo is doing the same, right? Voodoo opened one down in Florida.
Yeah.
And then, it started here, I think, right, with Short Story. And I always wondered, why are they opening up this place in Deep Creek, right? And geez, come to Charleston. I was begging them back then, and they have, and I couldn't be happier about it. But now they're up to 4 locations, and other breweries are starting to follow suit. Right? We got Stumptown.
That's right.
Who else has got multiple locations right now?
Let's see. Big Timber opened another tap room in Davis, West Virginia.
Yeah,
very recently.
This summer.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go, and they're catching on. So it's good to see.
And I think too that Bad Shepherd owner Patrick Guthrie recognized that, and he has 3 other restaurant bars in Huntington, and all of them have a lot of representation. So they're not technically tap rooms for his brewery, but he owns the brewery, and he then has 3 other places that are featuring those beers a lot. So that's always worked for them too.
That's true. That was, I guess, the original OG one that did it, right? Was filling up different locations.
Well, Mountain State Brewing is the one who really started having remote tap rooms, restaurants.
Well, and the Peddler beer goes to the backyard pizza.
Raw bar? Yeah, pizza and raw bar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Same owner and has a door between them, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a location in Kentucky, right? A new location, newish.
That's the pizza place. Yeah, I guess.
I thought they still supplied beer to that location.
Well, they might. They do, but that's, okay.
Nice.
Similar concept was why I brought that up. And maybe I'm wrong.
And we got Korber doing the same thing now, right?
Yeah, Korber has already. Yeah, they went the other route. I mean, they had 3 places, restaurants or whatever, before they had a brewery. Well, then when they opened the brewery, of course, all of a sudden they have 6 or 8 taps at their restaurants that are, their own beers. So, they have, exactly, sort of like some of the other ones we're talking about, whether it be, Short Story or Mountain State or any of those places. So, that really seems to have worked pretty well.
Charging by the pint instead of by the keg works.
Yeah, and as long as, I was kind of surprised in West Virginia that I didn't know originally if they thought maybe, well, okay, a brewery, you only can have one license, for a tap room. Well, now they're letting them have, like Short Story, they
multiple.
have 3 tap room licenses.
I would say
here.
thank goodness to the ABC for opening up a little bit about something, right?
Yeah, that really is good for them. I give them a nice stamp of approval on that decision.
Well, and it has to be, not only is it better, per pint sold, but a lesser investment initially putting in a tap room versus another brewery. I would think you don't have the equipment costs, it's just more cost efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, it really, and I've always thought that as long as the law would allow you to do that would make sense. But not every guy or gal that runs a brewery or owns it wants to open another place. I mean, there are some, and we have plenty of little tiny breweries that they just have their own little one tap room in their neighborhood bar, and that's all they want to be. They're not driven to, become entrepreneurs to do more and more, so it's really up to the owners. But the ones that have chosen, and I think especially people like Short Story, where all their bars, they're all called Short Story, or Mountain State, where they have Mountain State restaurants out here in Bridgeport, Morgantown. They got 2 in Morgantown now. I don't know. It's kind of odd. You have 2 their own outlets in the same town, but whatever. As long as they're making money for these people, I think then that to me the way to go. It also builds your brand recognition, because your Big Timber now is in, on the store plaque at a different location in another city across the state or something. Makes sense to me.
It's more noteworthy to me to do it in 4 huge disparate locations like Short Story is. Like, they're really spread out, right? And you got to trust your people that you hire to run a new place. Right. But there's a big difference between that and one that opens like recently, right, with Big Timber opening in Davis.
Yeah.
Because it's close and you can supply it and you can have the same people running everything.
Exactly. And that's one of the things they told me when I asked them originally, how did you choose Davis to do your first remote tap room from where your brewery is? And they said, well, because we're close enough that we can keep track of it and watch it. And they don't want to have to, it's harder to trust a manager, 100 miles away to manage that place the way you would. And I guess as you kind of get into remote tap rooms like that, you might want to get a feel for it smartly before you open a bunch of them and way away where you do have to hire people you don't really know to run them,
Yep. So there's a couple different models, right? One is the tap room model we're talking about, but look at Big Timber and what they did is kind of revolutionary across the state with you can find Big Timber beer in every convenience store in the state. And so volume wise, they've got to be killing it, but it is also, you're going to see Big Timber beer everywhere. And if you like Big Timber beer, you've got it, right? And they make good beer. And so, with that, what was the recent award they got, right? For the Brown?
Yeah, they won another medal at GABF.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Brown Ale.
Yep, which is you don't see a lot of kudos or anything for that kind of style.
Yeah, well, they're one that's really worked those big beer competitions too. They enter beers in them every year, and they keep working on them. And I don't think they've tweaked them a lot through the years, but maybe the judges are just coming back to whatever style Big Timber makes. I don't know. It's really cool to see that they're that successful at Great American Beer Festival and at World Beer Cup. They won medals in both.
Big Timber Porter is always my go-to if I'm somewhere that doesn't have a huge amount. You can almost find, always find either Big Timber Porter or Big Timber, the IPA.
Yeah.
That and the price point, man.
Right.
Like,
that's true.
It's easy on the pocketbook and easy on the palate, right?
Yeah. They're standard beers, or their core, I guess you'd call it. And I don't know if they have 4 or 5 core. They do keep that core priced more at a popular price, which is great because the solid beers made here in our state, small brewery can support, and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg for them. Of course, the specialty beers from the tiny breweries that are loaded with hops, and even Big Timber makes some specialty beers that might cost 50% more.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not all popular priced, I would say. Yeah, that's interesting. Dave, you've got us a beer here too, and I want to hear what we all have it in our glass, and we've been drinking this beer, and it is a beauty.
This is called Unicorn Blood from Arcane Brewing, and Unicorn Blood is a raspberry key lime pie Berliner Weiss. made in Largo, Florida, right? So it's hot, and you see this giant just jump in Berliner Weisses down there. It's the most popular beer I think you get style-wise down there. And it's basically a kettle sour that you can then add whatever adjuncts you want, flavors, fruits, that kind of stuff. Then they do it so well.
Yeah, that's a brewery that's perfected that kind of style of beer making.
Very, very true. And this is like a once-a-year release that they always do for Tampa Bay Beer Week in March. And I just happen to have a bottle still kicking around that stayed cold, and it's awesome.
It is awesome.
It's delicious.
It's getting me excited about March again.
It is.
It's pretty sweet.
Arcane, Arkane, I think
Yep.
is a spelling on that. And that's a very popular brewery in that Tampa Bay market. But they're in, like you said, Largo, a little small. Well, one town runs into the others. That you can't really tell what town you're in down there. But yeah, they do a great job.
I sort of thought that was going to be one of the waves of the future, right? Was just Berliner Weisses proliferating because they're relatively easy to make. Maybe not as well as this one is, but I just figured they were approachable, a good style to get people who weren't traditional beer fans into beer.
Right.
And I'm a little surprised that we don't see more of it. You do see a little bit of it in West Virginia, right? Short Story's got that Prisms.
Yeah, they have their little sour series.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is. If you've had that beer, that's the gist of what you're getting. But we don't see a ton of that stuff, right? There's Black Sheep does them. Bad Shepherd.
Yeah, they'll do a
Sour Holler.
Typically, you'll have maybe a sour most of the time, but not all the time. And yeah, even Big Timber does make sours as well, and they're small batch products, not the ones that go out.
I like
Weathered Grounds.
I like their sours that they have.
Oh,
they've
Weathered
got their
Ground.
wonderful sour series that I like so well, like the Timbuktu and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Weathered Ground makes more of a traditional rather than a quick sour. They do. I'm not saying they don't make a quick sour, but they certainly mostly make the more traditional, slower sours that really have a lot of character. But
Bad Shepherd, though, definitely has their their sour holler. That is a recurring theme that they've got.
That's true. Yeah, so I mean, I think
Stumptown's got one too, right? They did that.
Yep, they did.
Strawberry Mango.
Yep, they've had a sour series. I mean,
I thought theirs was more of like a slushy type.
well, they do make a slushy thing too, I guess. Well, anyway, most of our brewers of any size anyway are doing pretty often. They're doing some kind of sour sometime in the year. Yeah.
I guess I take it back, right?
Well, but it's not their main thing that sells well, and I think
It's very seasonal. It's very limited.
And
Yep.
and when I talk to the guys like Sam Fonda at Weathered Ground, and what he'll tell me is these more Belgian-styled products, Belgian-styled beers and sours or whatever, he'll just tell you they move so slowly that, I make them because I like them, not because they sell well. And that's pretty, and maybe that's getting into what you were saying, Dave. You thought you'd see more of these, but maybe it's that in West Virginia, they really haven't caught on sales-wise as much, to make a lot of them.
Sure.
And see a lot of them.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to Libby Rojas. And Libby, pitch a couple topics that you want us to get into. And a beer I see you brought one.
Yes. So a lot of the I looked at an article and I had multiple things going on, but a lot of them all seem to kind of coalesce together. So one of the things that they were talking about, the future of craft beer industry, because there's things going on, sales are down, is that they're trying to stop going for the crazy wild flavors and going to things that are more approachable, and that they're concentrating on their flagship beers,
Getting away from the pastry stouts.
and that they're looking at doing their flagship beers and the traditional beers, but looking at more aromatic styles, and
Well, I guess maybe it's trying to create interest beyond your core stuff.
Right.
How can I do more to
Right.
get more people in the tap
but
room?
still kind of sticking like you were saying, that Sam Fonda saying that he loves to make them, but the interest is only kind of, it peaks in summertime. People aren't super dying. And so what they're looking at is kind of going back to basics, concentrating on their flagship styles, doing things that are more approachable instead of when people were chasing the IBUs or the super
Right.
crazy alcohol or the like crazy flavored stouts. They're going back, back to their basics, but doing interesting things with those basics.
Okay, sure.
And one of the articles was talking about doing things with hops and using different aromatics that are traditionally used. And so that's why I chose the beer that I chose.
Oh, okay. And what is that beer?
It is from Jack's Abbey. It's it's called Lavenade, and it's a lemon lavender lager.
Sounds delicious.
And I've had one, and it is incredibly aromatic, and you're not tasting. It's not like, I don't know if you've ever had lavender flavored things. Sometimes they taste like perfume. It doesn't taste like that at all. It's like when you have the lavender infused coffee. It's just sort of like in the nose. It's an absolutely fantastic beer, and it's the kind of thing I think people are doing more. They're looking at. All right, here's our basic styles.
So with the lager, which is what you said this was.
And lagers are back.
Yeah.
They've been back. They've been
Absolutely.
coming back up last couple of years. People have been
Definitely.
looking at craft lagers and pilsners more.
Yeah, and more of the breweries, even in West Virginia, are making lagers regularly.
Right. And I love a good lager myself. The problem is we all grew up. Yeah, we all grew up drinking lagers. But
Wee lad.
that was the mediocre beers.
That was the stuff we wanted to get away from.
Right,
When we
right.
moved to the craft beer side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, thanks to the German influence, craft lagers are a whole different ballgame, and they taste so good,
Yeah, so you've got traditional lagers, right? But then it started with like lime lager and lemon lager. Country Boy's got that stuff, but it just, you see a bunch of that. But Jack's Abbey's always pushed the envelope and done some weird stuff.
Yeah, been a good brewery through the years.
They had started out with hoppy lagers, right? Not started out, but that was the first one I remember
Right.
seeing, Hopponius Union. And it was just super hoppy. It was like blends it between what I want in an IPA and what a lager is.
Yeah, and that style still is kind of out there. I mean,
Right.
a lot of breweries doing,
Hoppy
quite
IPA.
hoppy or interesting hops in their lagers rather than just the same German hops, which are still wonderful. But I mean, people are trying to expand that envelope a little.
Right. But still staying with, within these.
which is a
the
fairly
base.
simple beer style that doesn't overpower you often. I mean, this doesn't. And what I think is also in this beer is another trend that I know exists. That's more of a culinary trend. Culinary flavors in beers that are beyond, just the hops.
Right,
And that's
right.
what you get with lavenders and lemons and things like that.
Right.
That brings you to more of a culinary style, I think. And it's very interesting and approachable, easy to get into. Yeah.
That's
It does,
tasty.
it
Right,
does
like-
blend well. The
Yeah.
two flavors, the lavender and the
yeah,
lemon, and it's not
at first I was
overpowering.
kind of like, but and that's something you could take to someone who just only kind of likes beer. Then they might be like, oh yeah, let me try that.
Mm-hmm. It does have just enough to draw you in, but it is very mild in terms of flavor and
Right. It's
easily
not like knocking
drinkable.
knocking you down with the lavender or the lemon.
No, not at all. Thank you. That was delicious.
Okay. Aaron McCoy.
Yes,
How has your beer year been in 2025?
I would say it was a good beer year. I got to travel just a little bit and, got to have not just our local beer here, but within the kind of Appalachia, North Carolina. I went to Asheville a couple times, Raleigh area, just some fun travels, trying some different things. And I always enjoy that. So
Yeah.
it was good. It was good. It was good.
Well, now give us our next topic that we're going to dive into. You're going to lead that topic.
All right, so we are going to get into trends that are happening kind of broadly in the nation and also here in West Virginia. It's been talked about, I'm sure, before. At least we've touched on this topic on our podcast, and I know it's in the news, but the rise of the non-alcoholic beer and also THC products in terms of showing up in the craft beer market. I think it's a couple of different things, at least in my opinion. I will say that, I'm obviously middle-aged. I'm not super young. I've been into craft beer for a good while. And I feel like people in my kind of age group and that I'm craft friends with would maybe agree with this, that sort of the now 25 something year olds, even maybe up to 30-year-olds, they're not as interested maybe or as craft curious as we were at that point in our lives. And so I feel like they're much more kind of health conscious, or they want to be, maybe they're more sober curious. And so they're a little less drawn in to craft beer. So having said that, I think that influences, trend in terms of, okay, the breweries obviously aren't selling craft beer quite as well as it once sold, on top of just the regular change and kind of the shift in the market. But the second part of that is kind of, I don't want to say saturated, at least in West Virginia. I know we're not saturated because we are so far behind the rest of the nation in terms of the curve. But I do think that, you can't take any industry and expect it to have just phenomenal growth year after year and just continue to grow like that, because it would fail. You can't continue to grow that way and it be sustainable. So, I think just the growth in itself of the craft industry as a whole, and then factoring in people's that are now of drinking age, their preferences have shifted, are totally impacting, the nation and West Virginia as a whole. So having said all of that, I think that at least locally, and I'm sure more so nationally, we have had some local breweries that are trying to address that. Like I know we have, the Nano does have root beer. I know there's a lot of places that make craft, cocktails and have that available at their brewery, or they'll stock non-alcoholic, if they don't brew non-alcoholic beers, because that's expensive to do, to be able to do that. They'll stock someone else's. All around, I think it's been an interesting shift in craft beer as a whole.
I think
and those two things, I think, play a major factor.
Along those lines, and what you're saying is what I'm seeing at a lot of our craft beer tap rooms, brewery tap rooms, owned by that brewery, that they are expanding. Many of them are getting a liquor license so they can have cocktails. They get wine license so they can sell wines, and they can sell seltzers, and they can sell all these other types of products that are legally. And we're fortunate in West Virginia that those kinds of licenses for on-premise are pretty easy to get. I mean, some of them get a little pricey, of course, for some of the liquor licenses. But overall, if you have a beer bar, you can add cocktails without going in debt too much. And so a lot of them have done that. It's no longer as much focus just on the beer tap room. It's got to have.
There's definitely choice.
Yeah,
there's a lot more variety.
You've got a couple that comes in. One doesn't drink beer.
Oh yeah, Prosecco or wine.
Yes, and that's what they're filling those gaps, and so we're seeing all that. Where years ago we might have just had much more beer focused bars. Now they're all like kind of equal opportunity of all different kinds of beverages, and the NAs as well, or the non-alcoholics. Yeah,
I mean, Country Boy Country Boy's doing.
Oh, yeah.
Ciders and seltzers.
Yeah. Cider's another category
Yes, it
that's
is.
catching
Seltzer,
on, has
too.
its own
Absolutely.
following.
My local dive bar is selling a Country Boy cranberry cider.
They used to have
Right
like
now.
a pink
I saw that
lemonade too, or
in-
something,
I
didn't
think
they?
I saw it in Walmart.
Wow. There's a lot, right? There's a lot out there that would scare you. If you're a brewer, it could.
Yeah.
Right? You got the overall trends in the economy. People have
Right.
more or less money to spend at a given time. That's a fear. But beyond that, it's like, okay, our market share, right? What's going to happen to it? Seltzers become big. These THC drinks now.
Non-alcoholic beer sales have gone up by 26% in the last year.
Well, but that's the beginning of that's economics, the growth of that becoming
small base.
right?
Yeah.
Popular.
Yeah.
It's good to see
That's
breweries
expected,
going.
but I would think it will level off.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah.
going to say.
Yeah.
It's good to see breweries, though, saying, okay, what are we going to do to confront this problem? We're going to become part of the provider of that, right? We're going to make seltzers or ciders now.
I was out running around with a friend of mine, and I was shocked by how many places had non-alcoholic beers, like, decent ones.
Right.
Not just...
Yeah. Well, I've been drinking the Trail Pass
Athletic.
non-alcoholic beers down at Short Story because that's what they offer. A lot of them have that. Yeah, you mentioned Athletic brand, and I've gone to, I Like I was in Nashville and did a tasting at the athletic people were doing, like all their styles,
It's
and
a
they
good
were
one.
talking. And they were all drinkable, every style.
And the
they
Sierra
made.
Nevada one is a good one as well, I think.
Well, that's the trail
Oh,
pass.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
The stouts
that
are
was what it's called.
shockingly good.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Sierra Nevada's bringing out a new stout.
They're kind of
NA stout.
I mean, they're kind of
Wow.
porter mouthfeel, but still,
anyway,
Scratching that itch.
it's a good beverage, and it has enough of the style of beer, real beer, or alcoholic beer, to you can enjoy it. I think they're getting to where they're really well made and tasty beverages. No, they're not beer, but they're similar.
Sure.
Right. And that kind of brings me to sort of the close of at least my thought on this specific topic, because, I've heard a lot of different or varying opinions, and that, is this going to, crush the craft beer industry? Is it going to really, really impact it to a point to where it negatively impacts and places close? And, as a whole, I would think it would help expand if breweries can adjust and pivot to stay within that group of people and still be able to kind of cater to a little bit of everyone, because it's expanding participation, but not replacing craft beer, because as Charles mentioned, you may have a couple come and one wants, something NA and one wants that IPA on tap. Well, that if you do pivot, you have a little bit for everyone. If you're able to pivot. I also get that some people can't or maybe don't want to.
Yeah, it's difficult to, you have to set up a whole new operation to produce a different beverage, and that takes money.
I didn't mean necessarily produce it, but like Short Story has
Well,
that.
that's easy to sell.
Yes,
Yeah.
to sell somebody else's product.
Well,
you're at
sure
least
you do.
you're still bringing in that customer. is
and
what
you're
I'm
making
saying.
a little profit on that can of
Exactly.
seltzer,
Exactly.
or whatever. Sure,
Or hot
yeah.
water, or I didn't mean in terms of production.
Okay, that's makes it very simple. Everybody should. If I was a brewery tap room, I would have every one of those other products in there, assuming the license fees were reasonable to be able to sell.
Right, keep those people in there.
Absolutely.
Cover the market,
Give them
right?
the
They have
options.
gluten-free beers, right? There are gluten-free
Yeah.
beers out there, and we don't hear a lot anymore because they've been around for a while. That, right, Redbridge or whatever it was,
Yeah,
sorghum beers.
And Omagong makes a couple.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's true. There's so many variety now is what it's got to be. As Aaron was saying, the younger crew, the 20-somethings, are much more equal opportunity drinkers. They're not just like I was when I was 21, looking to get to a beer bar, and that's nine times out of 10 anyway.
Right.
It's going to be different now.
It is very much different.
And so the new group that's replacing me and the old baby boomers that are dying off or whatever we are, that group, you've got to be smart enough to have beverages of how you're going to sell to them.
it seems wild to me, right? Because Charleston is kind of the beer capital of the state by
Right.
far, right? We've got now 5 breweries,
Right.
right, and soon to be a
Well,
6th, considering Clendenin.
If you take Clendenin, yes.
But we weren't the first to get a brewery.
No, it's true. It took a while,
Yeah, it
but
took a long while for us to get started, but now that we're started, it's growing fast.
with this being sort of beer city of West Virginia, I would hope that we could support a good bottle shop.
I think
Oh,
we
sure.
could. I think we could help them round up some investors too if we could find some people. But I really think it's key that whoever that I want to support who would put in a bottle shop would be somebody who's really a craft beer fan,
Right.
Yeah.
and not just somebody looking to make money. And we have plenty of those people around.
And
Sure.
that's all those great breweries going down was because they were purchased by someone who was looking to make money.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
true. Yeah, I think in West Virginia, we're still seeing some growth in small breweries. That people are still finding they can. So we've got a lot of beer that it takes somebody really wants to curate their bar. Not their bar so much, but their retail store. That they really have to go out and seek that beer. Sort of like what Jeff McKay used to do when he was running that place in Huntington. He sought the products and of course got a reputation for being one of the best places in America to get good beer. And we need somebody that has that kind of mental attitude that I want to have a place that's the best in America, and we can do it here in Charleston, West Virginia. Yeah, it's ready, and I think we could find some investors to work with people if we could.
Here's to hoping for 2026. It's my resolution is hope that someone opens a good craft bottle shop.
Yeah. West Virginia, we've been pretty good a lot of states, we were, as Aaron mentioned earlier, we're sort of behind that curve. We didn't overbuild craft breweries in West Virginia. A lot of places did when it was hot. The market was hot. Let's put another brewery up. A lot of people opened breweries that weren't even beer people particularly.
Right.
Virginia had so many breweries closed in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, so we didn't do that. So we've always struggled. I wish I was somewhere else because we don't have any breweries over here. Now we've actually, keep opening a few breweries. We're up to 34, I think, as I looked last, with more like up in toward 40 on just tap rooms now, with the breweries that have multiple tap rooms, and that's really nice that we're not really losing so many breweries. I mean, it seems like the ones that are maybe even struggling a little bit, their new owners will come in and take them over, and that's I think a good sign. That we're doing that. I want to take you through a couple that we've had some changes in Clendenin Brewing here. We were mentioning, and you did, Dave, in Kanawha County, where they had changed hands. The original owners got tired of messing with it because it was a small spot in a small town, and they had a lot of other business interests. They weren't just in the brewery business, and they sold it to another couple, and it seems to be doing well. That couple I just spoke or communicated with them, email, and they're all gung-ho still and saying we're going to keep 5 to 10 of our own beers on tap all the time, So I figure about 5 house brews. What they've done is open it up and are also selling other craft beers, especially West Virginia brewers, which is, I think, a really smart thing when you're small like that and getting started. But Clendenin Breweries is hanging in. Chestnut Brew Works in Morgantown, they sold.
Wow.
Yeah, they've got new owners, and I don't know all their plans. The rumors are that the new owners are going to build a whole new brewery, which would be nice because that's an extremely small spot where they brew in their house. But they've kept their the new owners have kept the brewer Josh Taylor, who's responsible for keeping those beers, and their beers have just hung in pretty well. Like Halleck, the pale ale, it's
I love a Halleck.
Halleck's, they call it a hoppy pale ale, but it's really an IPA by all other intents and purposes. I mean, if you really wanted to say it is that kind of beer, but it is still selling very well. I've communicated with people that have bars in that Morgantown region where the brewery is, because they don't distribute anywhere except for local, I think. But the Halleck is still one of their best IPA seller. Even though it's been around, I don't know, since 2014 or something. It's not like a new IPA. It's been
fantastic.
Around for a while. Yeah. So anyway, the new owners, I hope they do invest and build a new place, a new brewery, and a big tap room like I'm hearing. That would be great because Morgantown's a place that could use that kind of a spot. Also, I just have been following this a little bit down in Princeton, West Virginia. We've had a brewery down there for a while, and most recently it's been called, most recently until the new owners now, a Bach Horde. They called it Bach Horde Brewing, and it's a little, a tap room and brewery right in town. But the owner of that, or the main guy, the head brewer anyway, which was J.W. Grossclothes, Aaron, we've talked to before when he worked at other breweries. He's been at a couple other breweries in the state. He and his wife, partner Ginger Conley, were the ones that owned the place. Ginger may still be around, but J.W. left the state and went to, I don't know if anybody heard this. I have no idea what he's doing because I haven't talked to him.
He's a real estate agent.
Yeah, real estate agent in Billings, Montana. And it's just like September 1, he's gone. He just left with not noticed to me, not that he would have told me, hey, Charlie, I'm leaving, but he just, all of a sudden I hear he's left the brewery, and he was the guy that, made the beer. So anyway, they've got supposedly a new owner. They changed their name. It's now called Number 9 Brewing in downtown Princeton. It's a great little location there. And I assume they'll be running the restaurant. They are still running their restaurant. And I don't know if they've changed the brewery license yet. It seems like their intent would be they're calling it Number 9 Brewing Company, that their intent would be to to change the license over and continue making beer. But right now, I don't think they're making beer because the license is still in the name of Bach Horde.
Weird.
And it's kind of crazy, but at least that just shows again somebody's running a restaurant now. They got a bar license, and they're and still got the brewery name, and they hopefully that'll stay making beer and be a brewery. There was another guy that I had written about before. He was down in Hinton, West Virginia. He said he was going to open a brewery down there called Hard Right Brewery. Well, he's canceled that. He didn't renew his any interest in, so it's gone. There won't be a brewery opening in Hinton anytime soon.
God, Hinton's in the middle of nowhere, though.
Well, it's just like New River National Park, though, extends down.
Yeah,
that
I guess.
way. I mean, it's starting to get a touristy feel vibe. I don't know. I mean, you're right, but I don't know why anyone decided they wanted to open a brewery or why they decided they didn't. But talking about other places, I've followed the guys at Clarksburg, and I was up there this fall earlier and talked to one of their economic development people, and she told me they've got 2 spots that people that were wanting breweries, either they're going to be a part of putting them in or maybe not, or maybe just trying to find somebody that would put a brewery in a building. So I know there's like 2 different operations there. One of them, and I've talked to this guy before, or at least communicated with emails, named Jeremy Engel. And Jeremy has this Empire National brewing concept that he's trying to get off the ground in an old building in downtown Clarksburg called Empire National Building, I think it is. It used to be a bank building, I think. Huh. Yeah, and then there's another group in Clarksburg that I found that is called New State Brewing. And I mean, these are not open breweries that have licenses, but these are projects people maybe just wannabes, or maybe they're legit people that are putting in buildings. It's really hard to tell at this point. But I'm thinking maybe one of the partners in that business is James Hopkins, and Jim Hopkins is also, or at least has been, a partner in Parkersburg Brewing. So there might be a connection there. I don't know if the same Jim Hopkins or not, but I haven't found that out. But so we might have something going on in Clarksburg.
I'm a little surprised that the Eastern Panhandle hasn't exploded.
With new places.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some, certainly, but they're scattered. Yeah. With so much of our state's sort of economic progress being up there.
That's a good point.
It just is surprising that we don't have more.
Well, yeah, and I don't follow it because it's so far away. I mean, people don't realize how it's across the mountains, the other side of the world, almost, to get over to Martinsburg and
5 hours later, you're still in West Virginia.
Yeah, and we've got we've been lucky. We have a couple of good ones that have opened up there. Cacapon Mountain Brewing is a good brewery, and Amani, Aaron, we've been over there to Amani. They do a good job. They like the hazy IPA thing, and they did a good job with it. But yeah, and it's certainly
abolitionists.
That's what I'm trying to say. Abolitionists that have been open, a while, and they do a great job, especially all kinds of kind of wild sours and things that a lot of us like. Probably not particularly popular among the general public, but they're beer geeks like their stuff, and they do a good job with it. But anyway, there's a bunch of brewery projects that I'm hearing about, and I should really probably have led with this one, which it's because it's a real project that's going to open this winter in Charleston, West Virginia, downtown, and that's the Ursus Brew Works. Jason Martin, I figure it was one of Aaron Martin McCoy's relatives. I'm not sure.
Not
a family member.
Not a family member, but looking forward to checking out, the new place once it's open.
Ursus right downtown. So we'll have kind of like 4 brewery outlets downtown right there within a few blocks of each other. Yeah.
He just made a collaboration beer with Nano. Mm-hmm. There was a barley wine, and it was great.
It was great.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah. He will have, I think he says he's going to try to keep, 6, 7, 8 taps of beers full time. I'm not sure. We'll, find out what he's doing. But yeah, it's supposed to open this winter, and we'll certainly on West Virginia Beer Roads be interviewing him come January, February.
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
6 weeks away or something like that.
Yeah.
We hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And, I keep also hearing about, 3 or 4 other people that are hoping to do breweries, but they don't all ever come through. They just, they talk about them, but I don't really like to talk about them until I think there's a little more behind what they're doing to make sure. But the point of all this, and the reason I went through some of this, is because, listed some of those, is because we still are hopefully having people that want to open new breweries. And certainly the one here in Charleston is going to open. It's well along its way. And that's going to be great because we're the most concentrated, what'd you say, Dave, like 5 brewery licenses, and this would be the 6th or whatever we said. But that's the most in any one little place in West Virginia, and that's really cool. It shows there's some confidence among people that are brewing and want to do brewing, who think that breweries could do well. And I think there's still going to be a lot of talk in Huntington of another brewery too.
Huh.
But I think I did just kind of maybe find out that one that I was hopeful for, which was a guy, Chris Lambert, who was trying to get a movement going to open a brewery down by Marshall's new baseball stadium. That one, I think he's kind of cooled off, or at least I'm hearing it's cooled off. I can't be sure. But so that may not happen. But still, that was kind of in the downtown section of Huntington near Marshall University.
I don't think we've hit near saturation.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We've got
either.
a lot of room still.
Yeah, I think Huntington could
Oh, definitely down that area.
Yeah.
carry a couple of them.
Huntington, Scott Depot, Tays Valley area.
Yeah, there's nothing in Tays Valley.
Oh, yeah. And one more I want to mention that I thought was going to be licensed last summer. It actually opened, but they just opened as a bar and a restaurant. And that's called Old School Brewing, and it's in White Sulphur Springs. And that's where another brewery was that had closed. But these guys, as far as I can tell, have never gotten their brewing license. So they're just operating as a bar right now, and they own their equipment, they have equipment there. I don't know if they own it or buying it. I don't know what's going on.
Do they maybe not have a brewer?
Well, they did have a brewer, but he just told me he was not going to be there. So I don't know what's going on. But there could be another brewery that opens if they have a brewery and they get a license, but they don't yet have a license. Okay. Well, let's move on to another beer. And I think, Erin McCoy, you have us another beer.
I do. I have a beer from Boulevard Brewing Company, and they are out of Kansas City, Missouri. I have toured that brewery. It's a pretty impressive place, very cool. This one in particular is a collaboration with Whitman's, as in Whitman's Chocolate. And it is more s'mores. It's a barrel-aged stout. It's 8.2% ABV. I am curious to see, but I'm going to guess it's going to be pretty sweet. So let's check it out.
Let's
Sounds
pour
awesome.
away.
Sounds awesome.
Well, let's get in here and see what we think. It smells like a kind of like a box of chocolate to me. I'm not getting like a barrel aged, right? No barrel aged smell. Definitely for me. What do you guys think?
It smells fruity, chocolate, right?
Yeah, I'm not even really smelling the vanilla from the marshmallow.
Taste it.
I get a taste of
You get
marshmallow.
it at least on the back end. There's definitely some richness there in chocolate and marshmallow, in my opinion. But I still get no bourbon.
That's way better than I thought it was going to be.
Or I'm sorry, not bourbon, just barrel aged, no smokiness.
A barrel, but what kind of barrel was it in? Does it say?
I don't think it
barrel
actually
aged?
says.
I just wondered. It might be whiskey barrel, but I don't get the whiskey either.
I don't either.
Could
No,
be
it
just a
doesn't.
random barrel they found on the side of the road.
So talk about this beer.
Tire.
Well,
Talk about this beer in the context of the flavored things that are drawing in business, or whatever you think the reason they made it.
Well, this kind of, I'm going to piggyback off a little bit of what Libby said about, trends with brewers and breweries wanting to kind of go back to their flagships or like their core styles. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring this beer. This is, a special beer. Obviously, it's not a flagship. It's not a core
style.
It's a collaboration, barrel-aged stout. And it's something that I think we're not going to see breweries doing, not the specific brewery, but breweries in general going forward. I think they're not going to have these types of products as regularly as they used to.
Okay, so this is a beer on the decline
Absolutely,
type style,
yes.
rather than one that's going to be breaking new ground.
Right. I think that we're not going to see as much of this, as in terms of variety with like these little one-off or collabs, whatever batches you want to call them. But I think that's definitely, as a whole, not only with West Virginia, but in the nation, that's going to be less and less.
I think we were reaching kind of, as much as I love a good pastry stout, we were kind of getting oversaturated and they were kind of getting ridiculous. Some of the flavor combinations.
Yeah. Well, they had to just keep expanding that little envelope, and there
more
wasn't
and
a
more
whole lot
elaborate.
of place to go with it. So you just add this and add that, to a.
Lots of adjuncts. And,
We don't see that here in West Virginia. We don't have a lot of adjunct beers. Like, really.
Yeah,
We
every once in a
get
while,
chocolate or something, but I
Yeah,
mean,
Big Timber has done a couple of big stouts that were flavored, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, they had a cherry
Cake.
chocolate stout.
Cake Smash.
Oh, yeah.
Cake
oh, yeah, the
Smash.
chocolate.
Yo
Man, it was
quiero-
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo quiero chocolate cake. That was a good
Oh,
one.
Yo Quiero chocolate cake.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yo Quiero.
Yeah, that was a good
that
one.
was a nice one.
But as a whole, back to how is this beer? It's okay. It's very thin.
Yeah.
Do I think it's overly s'moresy? No. Do I get s'mores out of it, which is obviously what they're going for? They have s'mores on the label, and it's again a collab with Whitman's. More s'mores being the name. No, I'm not overly impressed by this, and especially if it's to be barrel aged stout. As Dave pointed out, I want it to be smoky. I want it to have a better thickness to the taste. Or to the mouthfeel when you taste it.
That is the kind of adjunct stout that you make when you're making tons and tons and tons of it to sell nationally.
Right.
Probably so.
Yeah, there's barely any mouthfeel. There's no lacing. It's
And you also
just okay.
Yeah,
you
right.
also can't charge $30 a bottle for that, right? And so
Right.
that you're going to end up with a much thinner, less stout.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I 100% agree with, and I know we've heard that, Charles, with people we have talked with over this past year in terms of what their focus is, and it's where we're going to go back to lagers and a pale ale and an IPA, but then still have something light like maybe a Gosa or a fruited sour for somebody who
Yeah.
isn't
Who
into craft.
doesn't like beer flavored beer.
Yes.
It's tough because you get the sort of craft beer enthusiasts like we sort of are, and we want something special. We want something different.
Yeah.
We do love flagship stuff just
Right.
for like, okay, a daily or a whatever, twice a week, whatever you're going to do, just your standard drink. But man, I want something special.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like when I go down to Fife Street Brewing in Charleston, and I think to me, just their best beers are these 8, 9, 10% that they have, which are not generally big sellers like the 5% beers are. But to me, that's like their best beers, and I don't want to drink the 5% beer, and I'll get down there. I want to drink that 8 or 10% beer because I think that's what they do best.
Really good.
Flavors, yeah.
Yeah, but that's also back to the generational, the craft beer drinking group is just evolving into different groups,
Well,
Yeah.
now that's,
different preferences.
That is true because when I do want to just drink a regular beer, I will drink their Kolsch beer, which to me the brewers in Charleston have kind of caught on to that Kolsch style.
Yes, they've dialed that in.
Yeah, Bad Shepherd does a nice one. Fife does a nice one, and Short Story usually often has one of theirs on there. So it's fun to see. And those are typically lighter styles, 5% beers. But I don't know. I'd hate to have to run a brewery and make those decisions on what I'm going to brew because if I brew what I like, maybe they won't sell. And if I brew just the common beers and make sure they're good common beers, then that's what's going to sell,
Right.
because that's what people are going to
So
drink.
distributors have the same issue, right?
Yeah.
Which is you got to chase the latest thing for the beer nerds, the snobs or whatever. And okay, you do that, and then it sits on shelves forever because the average Joe doesn't want that.
Right. Yeah, it'd be great if we could predict the market, the future. It is a game. It's a gamble.
Libby, do you have another topic you'd like to throw out to us?
I actually do. And it sort of relates to some of the other things we were talking about the trends in craft beer. One of the other ones I think that is going to be coming up along with non-alcoholic beers and the aromatics is ingredient provenance,
okay, yeah.
You've got, and I've seen a couple of places in West Virginia, do this,
Yes.
You're using ingredients from where you're brewing.
Yeah, or like such and such a place's honey, farm's honey,
Right.
it'll name a specific, give it provenance.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, and also, along with the growth in other markets, organic ingredients, so you've got, I think somewhere I saw that there's a beer that's the first officially certified organic hops with organic
Wow.
grains.
Okay, yeah, the whole package.
Right. And then I think it was one of the breweries that Dave was talking about. Brooklyn Brewery is using Fonio, which is an ancient African grain in their beers, like Fonio Rising Pilsner and Fonio Stout.
Oh, yeah.
They
So they're
did
exploring new ingredients.
they,
Yeah.
they did a collaboration with Guinness on that one.
You know what that sounds like is the guys at Dogfish Head who did
Oh,
like that Grains of
We've done
Paradise
so
beer,
many.
Midas Touch, all of those things.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and then this is the one I was looking at, Aslan Brewing from
Yeah,
Washington.
Northern Virginia.
No, not Aslan.
Oh, I'm
Aslan.
sorry.
They're from Bellingham, Washington. Anyway, they released. This is the one I was thinking. The first regenerative organic certified beer. It's made with perennial grain, kernza, and organic hops. You know, and I think that especially with the younger people who are getting into beer and not going the NA route, that when they are going to be drinking, they're going to be looking for organic, non-GMO,
Fresh. Yeah, I would agree with that.
locally, provenance ingredients.
Yeah,
Yeah.
locally sourced.
Well, so, Libby, I think you've been talking about those NA beers.
Yeah.
It's making me want one. Don't you have one for
I
us?
do.
Yeah. So go ahead and introduce it.
Okay, so this is from Go Brewing, and they're doing quite a bit of non-alcoholic craft beers. This is called New School Sour with blueberry and strawberry. It's less than 0.5% alcohol, and it looks like it's delicious. It's pretty ingredients: water, barley, hops, yeast, blueberry, and strawberry puree. So
Yeah.
Sounds lovely.
You know, what's holding back, of course, our small brewers from making NAs are the process and the equipment that is required to do that. No one can afford, to do on a small scale. Wouldn't make sense. But I keep thinking that maybe down the road there'll be new enzymes coming out or new technologies or something that makes NA beers so that it's affordable, so that a small brewery can actually produce it, that they can get that equipment that they need or the new enzymes or something that will, produce a beer that's under 0.5%. I mean, under 0.5%.
So there's one of the things you just talked about with this sort of how do you make your brewery stand out, right? Organic recipe, ingredient provenance, that kind of stuff, right? I was talking to a guy named Jeffrey Stuffings, right? Jeffrey Stuffings is the brewer and owner of Jester King down in Texas, down in Hill Country, Texas, outside of Austin. And his view of the future of beer was going to be this on a national scale. Brewers are great, right? And it's like Johnny Appleseed. We teach one from the experts that we have now, become associate brewers, they figure it out, and then they take it back home with them wherever they are across country. The one thing that you can offer that no one else can is, in his view, this terroir, right? That we do this in Hill Country. We expose the hops to our local climate and our local bacteria that are out there. And we then make the beer, and we can only do that in this one spot. We use hops made here. We use hops that are stored here purposely. And what they do is they wet the hops like often, right? And they'll throw these musty, wet hops up in the barn and just let the local bacteria get to them and do what they're going to do. And then use that in a beer. And it gives it a flavor you're not going to get anywhere else in the country from any other brewer. And that's
Let's
how
hope it's a good flavor.
Jester King makes great
Jester
beer.
King makes great beer, yeah.
Well,
they often are.
I don't know. He changes his ideas as the market
he
develops.
grows.
So maybe this is a good thing and maybe it won't work. But I'm glad that he's trying it. I mean, this idea of terroir, certainly that's been the thing with the wine industry. The best wines, always sell their terroir. I mean, that's what makes them distinct and unique. And along with certainly the winemakers' techniques, the way they actually make the wines. But why couldn't brewers do more of that? Like you say, have either ingredients raised on their farm so they get a terroir that way, or that they somehow process that hop differently, like put it up in the barn and wet it down.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, you got to try things. You won't have innovation if you don't
It's true.
try some new stuff.
Aaron, you talked about us being a little bit behind the curve, right? And that's the point is if you're in West Virginia, how do you make a successful brewery? One, start with making great beer.
Right.
Yeah,
Period.
really.
Make good beer. When you're on a national scale, it's a different ballgame because, I just said Johnny Appleseed, and I say it all the time for beer. Beer is great. Beer is getting so much better across this country so that you'll have a brewery in a small town in West Virginia that's making beer that, man, 15, 20 years ago, you would have prayed to have a beer this good,
Right.
and you would have
Right.
traveled 3 states away to go get it.
Yeah, standards have
Yeah.
raised quite a lot.
And so we're getting good here at making good beer, and that's what we need to focus on. Elsewhere in the country, though, if you want to make your product stand out, you've got to do something special.
Right.
And great brewers are the first way you do that, and then you realize that everybody's kind of a decent brewer now on the national scale at these really well-known breweries.
Right.
And so, okay, terroir maybe is a way that you make it stand out.
Yeah.
And I think what I enjoy, at least in craft beer most, is barrel aging and blending.
That's a real art.
And yeah, we know a few of these guys these people who are just amazing at blending barreled beers. And Jackie O is great. Private Press is great. Side Project is amazing. Angry Chair is good. That's an art that I think is coming on.
Yeah, I mean, certainly blending has been a base of the wine industry for
Right.
centuries. The really good blenders were the ones who could consistently keep wines with a similar characteristic going for years. That because they knew how to blend. It's a real talent. And in beer, we're getting more into that. The small breweries are. I mean, bigger industrial breweries don't, but that's not their thing. It's like you're saying, the local guys that want to stand out and innovate. That's who's learning to do that sort of thing.
There's a pride, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you certainly have World Beer Cup and you've got GABF and all these things. And you can't imagine the pride that you see on brewers' faces, even if they've won 40 of them, when
That's a
they
good
win a medal. And it's a point of pride, and it's they're friends with the other great brewers of this country. They're well known, and they're having a competition between them every year for that, and they love it.
Yeah, that's why I think the one big reason why those beer competitions are still really important. I mean, a lot of people say, well, it's just like how many times can you go to, these big beer things and, enter beers. It's expensive for a small brewery. That's a problem, to get beer out to this festival in a condition that, that you want to compete. But hey, listen, if Big Timber in West Virginia can go to the 2 main beer judging events in America and win medals at both, then any state, any small brewery can figure out how to do it. And it does make you better as a brewer, no doubt about it.
For sure.
To compete against all the best brewers of America. Yeah.
Yeah, especially at that level. I mean, that's not just
It's amazing.
a local beer fest. That's
Right.
that is a very structured competition, and for true to style, I think they'd get some good notes from that.
So, Libby, what about this Go Brewing beer with the strawberry, blueberry?
I don't know. What do you think? I thought it tasted pretty good myself.
It's a very refreshing.
Yeah.
It is very refreshing.
Certainly
Definitely
easy drinking. I mean, I could have a can of this.
Yeah,
Right.
and honestly, if you handed that to me and did not tell me it was a non-alcoholic, I would have just said, "Yeah, this is perfectly fine sour."
Just tastes like a fruited beer.
It does.
It tastes more like a beverage to me than a beer.
Well, a little more.
But yeah, because there aren't grains to hold it in, or there's but it's good. I like it.
Yeah,
It is refreshing.
very nice.
I don't say that for most NAs. Like I taste them and they taste a little empty to me. Just always have. And it doesn't matter whether it's the like the foremost one in the country. I taste it and I go, just tastes a little empty.
Yeah.
And they've perfected. I mean, they've done it and figured it out. But I'm looking forward to the next generation of NA beers that taste.
Yeah, I think they'll
more
just
full.
get better and better.
I think I agree with that. I think so.
that's
I mean, they're better now than they were just 5-10 years ago.
Oh, by a lot. By a lot.
Yeah, so we in West Virginia, our top breweries, as far as whether it be top with quality that's beer geeks really like, or just tops and how well they sell and how widely they're distributed, really hasn't changed much. It takes years to probably build that up and get that street cred, and even working with distributors to get your beer out in all the little convenience stores and places. And we've had many brewers be that successful, and I'm sure that's just like anywhere. Most breweries sell basically all their beer at their own tap room. It's a small local neighborhood corner kind of a brewery, and those are great, and we need a lot of those. But you do need some that get out there into the convenience stores and the grocery stores, because if most people won't see them if they're just in the tap room.
I can tell you more than both hands of people that I know that were your average macro lager drinker who grabbed either an Oscar Blues Dale's Pale or a Big Timber in a convenience store and said, "Oh, I'm going to try this," And then they go, "Oh, now I'm moving into this." They love it. And it's just like, that's a great approach to a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't try your craft beer.
Right. Yeah, that is true. And you'd love to see more beer stores in West Virginia, people who do beer specialty stores, or at least have a side of a beer specialty store, not necessarily the whole place. It's very hard for our small brewers to get distribution, even though they don't have much beer to put in distribution. It's still hard for them to find regular places that will take their beer. I mean, bars take it, but retailers, it's tough.
One of the beautiful things that I love about this state, maybe more than any other, is the connections, right? And it's just the connection to people that you find here that you just don't find in big cities and big states. And that also means you're reliant on those connections if you want to sell your beer in stores and bars, and it's tough, right? You've got to be good at that side of things, and you've got to be around for a while to gain those connections.
Right. Hey, David, do you have another beer for us that you'd like to?
I do, and so this will go back. We had sort of palate cleanser, right, between the Whitman's Chocolate Stout and this one. But this is called Friendship from Three Sons Brewing, which is down in Dania Beach, Florida. And
that's South Florida. Right?
South Florida, just north of Fort Lauderdale by maybe 45 minutes or an hour. This is a s'more stout. And it's
s'mores number 2.
All the adjuncts that we're talking about, right? But this is treatment: marshmallow, graham cracker, Tasmania cocoa nibs, toasted coconut, raw coconut, and caramel.
Ooh, fancy.
Oh, goodness.
Aged in Heaven Hill barrels, 12-year-old barrels. So
I'm sure that is way better than what I brought.
it's going to be a different animal. I haven't tried it, but I can tell you it's going to be way thicker already.
Mine, with all of those ingredients listed specifically that way, I mean, that was specific.
Oh, yeah.
Mine doesn't even, it just says some Whitman's chocolate, and it's barrel aged. That's all it says.
Yep, and that's what you get between a nationally available beer and a beer that's brewed for a small group of people,
right? Who
are the people who sort of really demand something full flavored.
Yeah, I remember several years back, anyway, going to Florida at some of the beer festivals, and these Three Sons people would show up even before they had a full-time brewery. They would be sampling their beers, and they were always incredibly rich, but they were so good.
Yep, and that's what this is. I just tasted it, and it's thick. It's one of the thickest beers I've ever had, I think. But it also is just, I mean, there's so many flavors, right?
It's well done.
It is. It is tasty, and the good part of it is how rich and how thick and how flavorful it is. The bad part of that is I don't want more than about 4 ounces.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely what I would call a dessert beer, even though it's not overly sweet. It just means it's so rich and flavorful. It's hard. It overpower food.
It is. Yeah. It's a beer that you open and share with 4 friends, right? Mm-hmm. Because you just don't want anything like 12 ounces of this.
And you really do get all of those flavors.
Yeah.
The cocoa nibs and the graham cracker.
I can pick out right now 2 different kinds of coconut, right? 2 different treatments of vanilla, or of coconut, I mean.
Yeah, that's impressive. What's the ABV on this?
I'll bet it's 14 or so.
Something crazy.
Oh, it says caramel too. Did you say
caramel?
Yeah, I can.
I get it too.
Matter of fact, I just got the caramel.
12 years old. Wow.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, are we going to see a brewery that does that in West Virginia? No, I don't think so. Because you wouldn't have enough people who want that to make it
Right.
commercially viable.
Yeah,
Well,
because
that takes up so much space.
And they would have to-
In time?
Production for-
In time?
right.
You're right.
they would have to charge a lot for that bottle too.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, it'd be expensive.
Well,
But it's definitely good.
I
very
have
good.
sort of a thought on a topic that I would like to talk about to pick your all brains about it. But
Go ahead.
It is. I would like to know the trends that you see dying, the trends you see coming up, and the trends that you'd love to see coming up in this next year or two. What's dying? Anybody got a thought on trends that have died?
Super crazy, super sours.
Yeah.
Like, not
Unapproachably
just-
sour.
Yeah, not
acidic.
just regular sours, but the ones that with the old joke with the so smooth ones that make your face go, wow.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
What's
I'm not talking like the old school ones, not like the Duchess, or something like that. I'm talking about like the kettle sours with tons of lactic acid.
Yeah, yeah. You don't see those catching on as new beers anymore. I mean, they don't, new styles
Yeah.
coming out, or new flavors.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a great subtle sour,
Right.
but I'm talking about the ones that,
I'll give you a name. Cascade Brewing is now no longer in existence,
They're
right?
gone.
And that was they were kings of just that super acidic
Wow.
sour.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would say if for my choice, I think, as much as I love it, obviously I love an IPA, I love a DIPA, but like an Imperial IPA, I think just Imperial styles in general as a whole are going to be,
Tamped down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be for me that I'm not going to drink as much because I'm not drinking as much of anything. But I'm getting old, You don't do that. But I keep hearing, and I've gone to seminars at conferences, even in the last couple of years, where they're still saying that the high ABV beers are doing well, and the NAs are doing well, and everything in between is the areas that's really declining in sales.
Is that on a national scale,
Yeah,
Charles?
national scale.
So I see that, right? But not maybe a West Virginia side of things where you just need to make good
not
beer.
yet.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, right. You're right. I mean, I think, and especially where we're talking, decline in sales, it's just like if you looked at what Miller lost in sales or what Bud Light lost in sales, that would outdo all the craft breweries in the country,
true.
probably. So it's some of the big beer stuff is declining. It's not just the craft that's expensive. It's inexpensive beer is declining
Because
as well.
people aren't drinking like that anymore, especially younger people. But I think I got into this discussion with somebody when they were talking about the decline of craft beer and the growth of not like people are spending less when they go out. And I was like, yes, but are you looking at people who are, walking in buying something like this, that's going to be not a $5 beer, but like a $10 beer, and that's like a 10% or more. Well, you know what? You're only going to drink one,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
two, if you're
Right.
out and about with friends.
So you're not going to purchase a 4-pack of it very often.
Right, and
Right.
you're not gonna drink like
Yeah.
10 of them in a night.
Yeah. I mean,
The American population's getting older. Younger kids aren't drinking as much, but when they do indulge, they're going to indulge in something that
They
costs a
want
little more. and-
something special, maybe, or something they really are good and won't mind paying that extra $1 or $2 on that can or bottle. Yeah,
True.
they're still opening new breweries, and the ones that we have, the good ones, are still doing really well. And so people are paying in a state that's not a high income state. They're still paying, for those beers that aren't inexpensive. They're expensive beers, and it's a very. If I was a brewer, I'd be very encouraged by that.
I agree.
You make good beer, people will find the way to buy it. Like you say, they may not drink as much. They're not drinking a case of beer. They're drinking a couple of beers, and they want a good beer when they drink that.
right.
Well, guys, it looks like we've run out of time on today's podcast. I want to thank David Mincer and Libby Rojas for joining Aaron McCoy and I on today's podcast of West Virginia Beer Roads. It's been great having you guys help us review 2025 and looking into 2026.
This brings us to the close of another podcast. Remember, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast host. Thank you for listening to West Virginia Beer Roads.
West Virginia Beer Roads is a production of BrilliantStream.com.